Hi, Tom Walls, Carbide Processors. I'm going to talk about the invention of the circle saw blade and the difference it made. This is a relatively small straight saw. Well, it bends a little, but it's a straight saw. This is a World War II surplus one-man saw made by the E.C. Atkins and Company in Indianapolis, Indiana. Used to be, before the invention of the circle saw, all saw blades were straight. And this one you can cut both ways. If you get a two-man crosscut saw, you take turns pulling on it. Used to be, if that's gonna, no, that'll work. Used to be that lumber was made with pit saws or in saw pits. You would have a pit in the ground. One man would be down there pulling the saw down. Another guy would be up standing on the tree, the top of the log or whatever you're cutting, or a platform, and he would pull the saw back up. So they would take turns pulling it up and down. And they'd cut off a board, and once they had a board cut, they'd go back and cut off another one. The invention of the circular saw, the exact inventor is lost. There's a lot of people came up with the idea. My favorite is Tabitha Babbitt, a Shaker woman who thought the guys were working too hard in the saw pit. And the story goes on to say that she got the idea of putting saw teeth on her spinning wheel. So, may or may not be true. It's a nice story. But anyway, at that time, we're going back a couple hundred years, maybe 300, maybe 400 years. The number one, there was animal power, but there was also water wheels, which of course are a rotary motion. Well, to use a saw blade like this, you needed to have a reciprocal motion. So you needed to take the rotary, translate it into reciprocal, which is entirely possible and is done, but it's kind of a complex arrangement, particularly when steel is very expensive, hard to get. Most stuff is made by blacksmiths, and a lot of your structure is wood. So once they got a circular saw and they matched it with a water, am I going the right? Yeah, with a water wheel, you may have to do some gearing in the middle, change the speed, but it was a much simpler way to do it. Then you had to make the change of feeding the log into the saw blade instead of with the other one, with the straight saw where you walked down the pit as you were cutting, or if it was small enough, you moved the log up ahead. You'd have other logs under the main log being cut. You could roll those back or forth or roll the top one. Anyway, the invention of the circle saw or circular saw or circle saw blade or whatever made lumber much cheaper and greatly reduced the cost of housings, wagons, everything else that used a lot of lumber. So that's it. Just a little appreciation for probably many people who over the centuries worked on to come up with the circle saw blades we know today. So thank you all, men and women, Shakers or others.